the thing is, when we are not feeling 100% on top, and I mean, who does that regularly? Think about it that way. It is a knock at the door to say something needs to change. And sometimes it's not just the body saying, I need more of this or less of that. That has consequences in your life. Remember when I had to change my whole work schedule to please my body, but you have no idea. You have no idea what the consequences were. My whole life changed because once I accepted that I don't need to prove myself by being a workaholic, and once I realized that the world doesn't go under if I take a day or two off, the only thing that happened, I started feeling better. I started feeling better about life. I started being more chilled, more relaxed. I became a more pleasant person to be with. And once I put these things together and I realized that the connection with my body and the connection with what my body is telling me and how important it can be, I tell you, it becomes like a feedback device that I don't want to miss at all, because I can pick up things long before they manifest. I know, because I'm so in touch with my body, what's good for me and what's not good for me. And then I can make decisions about this and not look at this in the aftermath and said, oh, maybe I shouldn't have. This wasn't really good for me. Yeah, that happens as well, but not so often. So what I'm trying to say is, we do not grow and we do not evolve when we are in a comfort zone. Does that make sense? Yeah. So your attitude towards a discomfort could soften. You could say, it's again, I'm feeling like this. Or you could say, oh, something seems to be amiss. I wonder what that is. And you could just become curious. What a difference that makes already. What if it is, I'm talking spiritual language now, but what if it's your soul knocking on the door and say, hey, girlie, or man, it's time to break out of this and expand out of this and get into the life that you actually want and deserve. And I know we always think that life will fall apart when we don't do certain things or change our ways or whatever. But from my experience, it doesn't. My experience was, the more I became aware of my body and listened to his signs and helped and assisted my body, the better my life became. The more relaxed I become, content, joyful. That gives me a lot more resilience, and that's available for you, a lot more resilience to deal with life out there, because the world inside is in order, right? And a big factor is that you stop reacting to the circumstances around you. You take a breath and you say, how would I like to respond to that, if at all, if it's necessary? So the question is, and this is a little bit more learning for today, if that's new to you, how on earth do these emotions and thoughts get into the body? They're floating somewhere in my consciousness, or maybe I feel my emotions somewhere in my body, but how can they manifest as something that is a misalignment or distress in the body, or a proper symptom in the body? How does this happen? Because thoughts and emotions are things I can't touch. How can they be suddenly in my body and do something that that I can go to the doctor and complain. How is that possible? Well, one way of seeing this, and possibly the best way of seeing this, is to explain our nervous system. So, and I gave Arno a little image. I don't know whether it's not super important, but if you have it in a moment, you could share this with us, because I want to explain to you quickly about this autonomic nervous system. And I only give you the tip of the iceberg. I'm not a doctor. I haven't been trained in this, but I understand enough to know how it affects us. So this autonomic nervous system has, let me just change this again. No, can't. Has two sides, two arms to it. The one is the sympathetic, the other one is the parasympathetic. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. So they're kind of balancing each other out, and they do this in us beautifully. And now I want to explain to you what the functions are. So the sympathetic part is what often referred to as fight and flight, and the parasympathetic is often called the rest and digest. And when there's a threat, the sympathetic goes off, and when the threat is over, the parasympathetic kicks in, and then these two arms just kind of pendle out. And that's how the system is meant to work, and it works beautifully. Why is it necessary? Well, if we, and I'm talking about a caveman kind of brain function, it's absolutely ancient, right? When there is a threat, or we perceive something to be a threat, our body goes into action straight away. There is a whole biochemical cocktail that's being released, and we have no influence over that, right? We can't say it's a little threat or it's a big one. It just goes and throws the chemicals in the body. And these chemicals are doing so many things that the list would be too long. And that's why I even asked Arno to maybe have this little picture for us. If you have it, would be a good time now.
I have it.
So fantastic. So what happens? We perceive a threat, and it's very important to understand it doesn't have to be a real one, okay? It can be an imagined one. What's an imagined threat? An imagined threat is a worry, what we're anxious about, right? What we believe to happen. Remember the person who thought she might not pass her 50th birthday because her mother didn't? That was a worry. And this is the energetic value that I'm talking about. Now, it starts out there in consciousness in the mind, and then the brain has this incredible ability to translate these messages into a language the body can understand. And it does that with chemicals. And so it runs down in more than that way, but down through the spinal cord. And from there, it reaches out into every organ, into every cell, right to the top of our skin, into everything. It absolutely goes everywhere. And if you just look at a handful of signs, and you might recognize them, right? So we have this perceived threat. So the pupils will dilate. So we have better vision. The heart starts pumping faster, so that there is more blood coming through the body to give us more energy to do what we think we need to do with this threat. Our arteries expand so that the blood can go through faster. You know, the glucose, the sugar that we have in our system gets dumped into the body to give us maximum amount of energy so that we can deal with this threat. And while the arteries in the body get wider to let more blood through, the little ones under the skin, they actually coagulate. You know why? Because when the lion slays you, maybe bacteria or whatever might got in there, and it's a protecting mechanism so that you're not bleeding to death. It's incredible. If you go further down, your digestive system, is that really so important right now that you are sitting here with a thread? No. So it either lets go or it holds in. What's about your sex drive? Well, that's not really important right now, right? I've given you the tip of the iceberg, what this all does. So a thought, you can maybe let go of this picture now, Arno. Thank you. I just wanted to demonstrate, and there are beautiful images like this on the internet, that a thought and an emotion that you have, if it's not life supporting, it and it's persisting, or it's really strong, it penetrates your body in terms of these chemicals, and it does these things, and it's meant for your survival. It's beautiful. The whole system is amazing. But the problem is that we're not sitting with threats like our cavemen brothers and sisters did. We are worried about money, relationships, our work, the health of somebody we love, you name it. You know what I'm talking about. And it is those thoughts and those emotions that, if they persist, that they have a chance to affect our body, as I said earlier on, most probably where it can get easiest. In other words, where you maybe have a weak kind of spot in your body. So this is how it enters the body. It's a beautiful system, and it gives you incredible power when the sympathetic nervous system is in action. But it's not supposed to last. It's supposed to be an automatic reaction, an instantaneous one, to deal with something here in this moment, not for any length of time, because now you're sitting with all this adrenaline and cortisol in your system. And if you think about it, originally, the system is made for you to either fight or run. In other words, you become super active, and in being super active, you help the body to use up these chemicals faster. But we are so worried behind our desk or sitting on the couch dealing with these threats. And that's a problem. So, how much responsibility can we take? What can we do? What can we do to clean up and have mental and emotional hygiene in our system? Is everything a threat? Does it have to be seen like that? Does it have to be in our system 24/7? Or is it okay to sometimes say, no, I'm not going to worry about this right now. I maybe sit later and have an hour and look at this topic, but to be like a little beetle on its back with its legs, to completely helpless to what's happening in our thinking world, be stronger than that. We can be stronger than that. And this is what I hope you understand. And when you go through your body, then there is a good chance that when you find something being in disarray or misalignment or on the way of breaking, that your thinking world and your feeling world may have contributed to that. And you have an input to that. You can do something about it.